What is climate? Well, I'll tell you what climate's not. It's not weather. So if you have a friend, a cousin, you haven't seen in a long time, they live far away. They live in Florida, some other state. And all of a sudden you have a party, you get to see them, and they say, oh my gosh, I forgot you from New York. Hey, what's the weather like in New York? That's not really what they meant to ask you. What's the weather like in New York? Are you going to give them like the 5-day forecast? Well, today it's going to be sunny, clear, no precipitation. Tomorrow it's going to be cooler, there's a chance of rain, and the day after it's going to be really cold, chance of snow. That's not what they were asking you. Right? They're not asking you about weather, they're asking you about climate. Climate is the average weather conditions over a long period of time. Oh, you from New York? What's the climate like there? Oh, well, I'll tell you, New York, let me tell you about it. We get 4 seasons. In the summertime, boy, it's nice and warm, sunshine, you get a little rain in the summer. We get fall and spring, you get a lot more precipitation, and it's medium temperatures. Boy, in the wintertime, forget it. It's cold, you get a lot of snow. We'll get like feet of snow. No way. Yeah, climate. That's the climate of New York. And what are the 2 conditions that climate depends upon? Well, listen to me describing it. What are the 2 things that I kept talking about again and again? Those 2 factors that climate is concerned with are temperature and moisture. Objective 11 says you need to understand the processes and vocab associated with a water budget. So in the next few minutes you're going to be throwing a lot of vocabulary. The first vocab term is water budget. Focus on the word budget. Have you ever heard of a budget before? School budget. Your parents come in May to vote on the school budget, and basically the budget is giving the ground rules for the Board of Education on how much money they can bring in for the taxes and how much money they can spend on your education for the next school year. That's the school budget. Or at my house we have a family budget where we keep track of all the money that we come in through our paycheck, right, and all the money that we spend on our bills in its terms of the family budget. Well, that's basically what a water budget is. I'm going to give you the definition on a slide in just a second, but a water budget is a way of keeping track of all the moisture, the water that's coming into an area and the water that's going out, and then how much water is stored within the soil of that area. And there's a lot of vocabulary that you need to know related to water budget. The P word is precipitation. Next is EP, that's potential evapotranspiration. Big vocab term. Also, you have actual evapotranspiration, EA. The S word is storage. The U is usage. The D is deficit. And the R is recharge. The P, if I was at home talking money, would be my paycheck. Brings money in. Well, no, in this case, the P is precipitation. And if you look on this summer day, you can see the clouds, and then look at that one section. You can see the rain. All right, that's what's going to bring the water back into our water budget. So in that area over there, you can see the rain coming down out of those clouds. That's going to bring the water down to the ground. Whether the precipitation technically could be rain, snow, you learned all the different types, hail, sleet. Brings the water into the budget. So the P was precipitation, the paycheck that brings the water in. So what are the bills? Well, the bills are the potential evapotranspiration. Remember, the word evapotranspiration is a combination of 2 terms, evaporation and transpiration. Well, they take water away. Evaporation, well, we'll look at the lake behind me. Right? When water evaporates from the lake, it takes that away. Well, that's the same thing with this ground right behind me, the lawn. When the water evaporates from the ground, it's removing that from the ground, from the soil. That's going to be taking water away. That's like a bill. That's my daughter comes up with the ATM card and then starts taking money out of the account. Right? That's evaporation. Or look at the trees behind me. Transpiration, remember that definition. The water is being lost through the leaves of the tree, or maybe the grass behind me. Transpiration takes the water away. That's being a loss. So potential evapotranspiration, potential is the predicted or estimated amount of water that an area will lose based on how much energy is available. So it all depends upon the energy. The more energy, the higher you would predict the evapotranspiration. So what kind of relationship is that? Good. That's a direct relationship. So we want lots of energy. What seasons of the year do we get our highest energy, our highest temperatures, the most amount of energy? Summertime. So we predict in New York State that in summer, higher temperatures, you should lose more water to evapotranspiration. EA is the actual evapotranspiration. If you look at the ground behind me, you see how dry that grass is, right? How much water is actually evaporating from the ground right now? Not much, right? It's dry. Even though it's a hot summer day, there's no water in the ground. So how much water is really being lost is EA. And the EA can never be higher than the predicted. Because on a hot day like today is a perfect example. We would predict a lot of water is going to evaporate, but it's not because there is no water. It's dry. All right, so when recharge doesn't happen, look at the lawn. It's August. We've had like 1 day of rain in the last month and a half. All right, so my lawn is dry. It's crunchy when I walk on it. All right, we haven't had the precipitation. All right, the ground is dry of water. When the grass has been losing water by transpiration and it evaporates away, now we have a condition that we call the D word. Either deficit or drought. And kind of like the money budget, it's similar to another D word, debt. When you run out of money in the bank, you're in debt. When you run out of water in the ground, you have a drought, a deficit. So why are water budgets important? Scientists that study them, they're called hydrologists, they actually measure the millimeters of precipitation over the course of a year of an area. They also measure the evapotranspiration. And then comparing those, they can figure out if a climate is humid or dry. Take New York State as an example. Look at the green trees behind me. Right? New York State is a humid climate because we have many more months with larger precipitation. So precipitation that is greater than the evapotranspiration. That's why we get months and months of surplus. Extra water. Humid. Extra water. The opposite would be a dry or an arid climate. Over the course of their year, they're going to have many months with less precipitation and more evapotranspiration. They don't get enough water. That's why they are dry or arid. And therefore, they don't get the S word. They don't get surplus. They get the D words. Do you remember those? They get months of deficit and drought.